Hi, this is Dr. Faria Bukhari. I'm talking to you live right now from Karachi, Pakistan. And this is my video that I'm doing right now to review G7's, aka Biden and Queen Elizabeth's national security policy for Pakistan, written by Imran Khan and technically directed against the cause of Kashmir and written to be favored for Indian aggression, Indian persecution, Indian oppression, and continuous terrorism of RSS against millions and millions of not just Indian minorities, but the people of Kashmir as well. The only entity that was standing between the people of Kashmir and the Indian government, RSS, Modi, BJP, their aggression, their persecution, their oppression was, and hopefully will be, is the Pakistani army. And now, just because there's a concern that Biden may lose his military base in India if there's any altercation, conflict between Pakistan and India, and just because Biden does not have any influence over the Modi regime, and just because Biden does not have the spine and the guts to confront oppression, persecution that has been committed against the people of India and against the Kashmiris, he is forced Pakistan's officials to write a paper of treason that betrays millions and millions of Kashmiris who are waiting for their saviors to come and save them from this persecution. These Kashmiris have pleaded for mercy, not just from the United Nations, not just from Biden, not just from the European Parliament, not just from all the superpowers, but from every citizen of the world. They have been waiting for the last 75 years for some kind of a peaceful resolution to the continuous oppression, occupation of their land, of their livelihoods, and abductions of their children, their women, against any kind of constitution, not just Indian constitution, but any kind of constitution of any country of the world, let alone the Geneva Conventions, the Vienna Conventions, the United Nations resolutions. And now there is a risk that US is going to lose its military base in India. US is going to lose its quad ally in US war against China. So what does Biden do? Instead of confronting Modi and his aggression, his persecution, his oppression in Kashmir and against his own people, the Indian Muslims, the Indian Christians, the Indian Dalits, the Indian Bengalis, what does Biden do? What does the G7 do? They make a call to the Chief of Army Staff. They make a call to Yusuf Moeed. They make a call to Imran Khan. Hey, we are dictating to you a national security policy that's going to say 100 years of peace with India because we want our sacred, holy military base to continue to stay in India. Seriously? Biden, G7, you think we are so stupid? You think the world is so stupid? You think we can actually trust your best friend Dick Cheney, who was recently welcomed in the House of Representatives? You think we can still trust Tony Blair, who was just given knighthood by Queen Elizabeth? You want Pakistan to be your puppy? No, that's not going to happen. Pakistan is not going to be your puppy because the people of Pakistan have always stood with the people of Kashmir. We have sacrificed in blood for the people of Kashmir. And if a Muslim is killed in India, we get hurt in Pakistan. We shed tears for the Muslims of India and for the Muslims of Syria, for the Muslims of Iraq, for the Muslims of Libya, for the Muslims of Yemen, for the Muslims of Burma. We shed tears because that is how we are. Even if you're a Muslim in America, in US, in Europe, under Biden, under the royal family, you will feel the hurt if an Indian Muslim or a Kashmiri Muslim is persecuted, oppressed, and killed by RSS, by the acts of terrorism of RSS. And we are not talking about the Muslims. We're talking about Sikhs. We're talking about Christians. We're talking about Dalits. We're talking about anybody who's not a Hindu, who does not conform to the religious ideology of Modi and RSS. This is a movement bigger than Black Lives Matter, 10 times bigger than Black Lives Matter. We are talking about 700 million people. 700 million people. That's not a small number. I want you to take a deep breath and just inhale the number, the quantity, the people, the masses. Why do you think the British were kicked out before 1947? They were able to defeat the Nazis. They were able to reclaim their lost territories. France was all done. UK was all done. Yet they were able to be called the victors of World War II against oppression, against persecution, against the Nazis. Why do you think they got kicked out of India, then India, before 1947? Because of the people. There was so many people, huge number of people rising, standing, desisting, rebelling, revolting against the status quo. Even if Pakistan army does not stand with Kashmir anymore, even if Imran Khan openly concedes in this national security bogus paper that was dictated by you, the revolution that is about to hit Kashmir and Delhi is going to be bigger than the one that hit the same territories before 1947 that was responsible not just for the creation of Pakistan, but for the eviction, exodus of the British, who were, by the way, the superpower at that time. So if you think by dictating this so-called national security policy, where you say, oh, we are not going to discuss about Kashmir anymore, we're going to start trade with India, we are conceding, we are willing to bring peace, we are going to blah, blah, blah. There are millions of people in India, in Kashmir, who are standing against the persecution, oppression, aggression of Modi and RSS. The only way you can divert a crisis from happening that's going to topple your base away, just like what happened in Kabul, is by number one, if you designate RSS as a terrorist organization in United States and in Europe, because they have been acting as terrorists against the Indian minorities and against the Kashmiris for years and years. And number two, if you force Modi to reinstate the Article 370, because once you're able to reinstate Article 370, then that's a proof from India that it is willing to come to table to talk about peace, which means it has accepted the olive branches that you have been trying to push through Imran Khan every second of his rule. For every olive branch that Imran Khan sent because of you, because of your influence, because of your push, because of your bullying and intimidation and blackmailing and economic sanctions and whatever, the FATF, the IMF, the World Bank, for every olive branch that you have pushed towards India, Pakistan has lost lives. Kashmiris have lost lives. 466 Kashmiris were killed in response to what India did on 5th August 2019. 466 Kashmiris could have been living if you had stopped India right there and then, confronting India, stopping Modi, and forcing him to reinstate Article 370. Instead, you put all the pressure on Pakistan. This is what you've been doing. You've been trying to, so-called, in your terms, contain the conflict by pushing those who are the only hope for the people of Kashmir and the Indian minorities, the only hope to save the region from the terrorism of RSS. Pakistan has fought against the terrorism of Al-Qaeda. Pakistan has fought against the terrorism of ISIS. Pakistan has fought against terrorism of all kinds. And now Pakistan is willing to fight against the terrorism of RSS to liberate the people of Kashmir and to liberate the Indian minorities. However, that's not going to happen if you call Pakistan's officials every day, every second, and keep on telling them to push these olive branches that are returned with the blood of Kashmiris and the Indian minorities. Because this is not peace, this is suicide. You're forcing the Kashmiris to commit suicide. You're forcing the Indian minorities to accept suicide as their only destiny, unless they change their religion. You are actually responsible for forceful conversions of every Christian, of every Dalit, of every Sikh, of every Muslim to Hinduism. You are a traitor to the Constitution of United States and to the Constitution of UK and that of the Europe. All of you, the European Parliament, Queen Elizabeth, who just gave knighthood to Tony Blair, and then our so-called communist Joe Biden, who has technically given complete immunity to the war crimes of India just because it doesn't want to lose its holy, sacred military base in India against China. But guess what? Even if you put pressure on Pakistan like you have today in a national security policy via your Yusuf Moeed, Kashmir is going to blow up. In fact, you have actually precipitated this volcano from happening sooner than later because of your pressure on Kashmiri's so-called patrons like Imran Khan and like General Qamar Baja. Because once the Kashmiris realize, as they are right now through this national security policy paper, that Pakistan does not care for them anymore, that they are on their own, that Pakistan army is not going to fight for them anymore. They are not going to be restrained. They are not going to be de-escalated anymore. They are going to come out of their homes and the whole valley is going to blow up. You actually technically detonated this bomb yourself. This is what you did, Biden. You are going to lose the so-called holy sacred base of US in India against China in the South China Sea because of your blunder, political blunder, because you think you're too smart, but you're not. Your so-called comrades think they're too smart. Hillary Clinton thinks she's too smart. Dick Cheney thinks he's too smart. Look what he did in Iraq. Look how many people got slaughtered. How much of the US economy suffered because of what Dick Cheney did in Iraq. Can you deny this? Ask Bernie Sanders, ask OAOC, ask Ilhan, ask Rashida, ask the squad what the US has suffered from as a result of these invasions, as a result of these wars that shouldn't have happened. So don't tell me that you're really smart. You're not. You actually said yes to Iraq invasion. And we know how smart of a decision that was. You are stupid. You think you're smart, but you're not smart, Biden. Same goes for the royal family. Same goes for the so-called Queen Elizabeth and Boris. Same goes for Macron. Same goes for all the European Parliament. You guys think you're smart? Where was your smartness when Kabul was taken over by Taliban? You were actually willing to, you were literally begging Pakistan army and Pakistan to get you evacuated after your long terrain of slander, propaganda, FATF, bullying, intimidation against Pakistanis. And who saved your butt at the end of the day? Pakistan. But if your military base gets kicked out in India, Pakistan is not going to be able to help you because Pakistan is at war with India because India has been very aggressive. India has totally, totally eliminated the UN resolutions in Kashmir. India has committed war crimes. India has abducted, detained journalists, peaceful activists. India has yet to release a single activist who was fighting for a peaceful resolution of Kashmir. India has yet to release a single journalist who was trying to cover the conflict of Kashmir and the war crimes of Indian Army. They have not done a single act of peace to deserve this kind of treatment. These lollipops that you're trying to shove down the throats of 222 million Pakistanis and millions of Kashmiris, it's not going to help because the nation of Pakistan is not a dummy. They are not zombies. They are not sheep. It's an alive nation. It's a thriving nation. They know what you're doing. And they are not going to take this kind of crap from you. And even if Imran Khan is willing to do it, they don't give a damn about it. The nation of Pakistan is going to stand, resist, desist, rebel, revolt till Kashmir is liberated, till the Indian Muslims receive their equal rights, till this region is free from terrorism of RSS against the Indian minorities and against the people of Kashmir. Because this is how the people of Pakistan think. This is how the people of Kashmir think. It doesn't matter if Pakistan Army has endorsed this bogus dictation from you. It doesn't matter if Imran Khan, who's your stooge, has endorsed this bogus dictation from you. Pakistanis are enough by themselves to liberate Kashmir. And Kashmiris who had been so far in restraint due to Pakistan Army looking up to Pakistan Army to save them will no longer be in restraint. So the whole valley is going to erupt like a volcano, like I predicted on the 4th of January, that until and unless Modi reinstates Article 370, the valley of Kashmir is going to explode like a volcano. Delhi is going to explode like a volcano. US and the European Parliament, UK, NATO, they are going to lose their last solitary base in the region on the same lines as Kabul. And I stand by this point. This is going to happen. Actually, you precipitated this. You technically, officially precipitated this to happen sooner than later by dictating a document, pushing a document to Chief of Army Staff, to Yusuf Moeed, to Imran Khan, that has basically declared defeat before India, and that has officially designated Kashmir as a non-issue in trade talks, and that has basically made trade the top priority, when we all know all the economic terrorism that India has committed against Pakistan all these years. India has been involved in heinous atrocities committed against Pakistani minorities and has tried to plant sectarian differences to disunite the Pakistanis so that they start killing each other to the point of extinction. And they also sponsored banned factions like BLA, like TTP. We have credible evidence that we have already given to all of you. And if you're still in a state of denial because India is your so-called buddy and is going to save your butt from China, then let me tell you something. India could not save your butt in Kabul. How can India save your butt from China, which is the second largest superpower of the world and the biggest economic superpower right now? Give me the answer. India could not save your butt, Biden. India could not save your butt, Boris. India could not save your butt, Macron. India could not save your butt, European Parliament, in Kabul. How do you expect India to save your butt when it is dying to save its own butt in Delhi from an internal strife, from communal rights, from the rising revolt against RSS oppression, in a revolution, in a movement that's going to be bigger than the one that forced the British to leave the subcontinent? I told you on 4th of January, this is coming, and you just pushed it forwards through your stupid foreign policy. Anthony Blinken, do you think you can dictate a bogus national security policy and expect the people of Kashmir to just nod their head like this? Seriously? How many presidents have passed before you? How many foreign ministers, how many Secretary of State have passed before you, Blinken? Were they able to convince the people of Kashmir to concede their valley to India? No. You have made a blunder. And now, what I predicted on the 4th of January is going to happen. Tomorrow is the 15th of January. Tomorrow, I'm going to give Imran Khan a piece of my mind in Karachi on the ground for becoming your puppet and for not growing a spine to confront you. And I'm going to ask Chief of Army Staff to do his duty. He's supposed to save the lives of Kashmiris. He could have saved the lives of 466 Kashmiris since 5th August 2019 that he was not able to because of your pressure, because of the pressure of the olive branches that kept on returning with blood of not just Kashmiris on them, but also of Pakistani soldiers. Do you realize what your olive branches are doing to the soldiers of Pakistan on the ground, trying to work in Waziristan and Balochistan? Do you have any idea who's dying in these wars? It's not the Americans. It's not the Chinese. It's not the Russians. It's not the Indians. It's the Pakistani soldiers. So for all the olive branches that you have pushed down the throats of 222 million Pakistanis and millions of Kashmiris, with your pressure via Imran Khan and Chief of Army Staff, General Qamar Bajwa, we are losing, we are hemorrhaging Pakistani soldiers, we are hemorrhaging Kashmiris, and we are not going to take this crap from you anymore. I told you the only option you have to save your sacred, holy, solitary military base in this region, in the South China Sea, against China is if, number one, you designate RSS as a terrorist organization in US. Justice for Sikhs tried to do that under the Obama administration, and Hillary Clinton, John Kerry put a stop to it. That cannot happen again. Justice has to be done to the people of India, just like it had to be done to George Floyd. This is a movement 10 times bigger than Black Lives Matter because the numbers are huge. We are talking about 700 million people. 700 million people on the brink of war, civil crisis, in a country that is a nuclear power that holds the only solitary, sacred, holy base of US against China that Biden tried to save in his crazy moments by dictating a bogus national security policy to Pakistan. And now all of Pakistan is going to go erupt against that national security policy. And eventually what's going to happen? Something is going to happen out of this chaos and mayhem, just like something happened out of the chaos in Syria and Iraq and Afghanistan. Something is going to happen, right? Two nuclear countries having civil crisis at the same time. Pakistan having it because of your dictated, bogus national security policy that has deleted the issue of Kashmir from it, that is forcing Pakistan to resume trade ties, all while they are massacring, slaughtering Kashmiris unchecked, undeterred. You have yet to confront Modi. You have yet to confront RSS. You have yet to designate RSS as a terrorist organization. Your own American Indian voters are in jeopardy of losing their Indian passports thanks to this fascist regime of India. Are you the president of RSS, Biden? Or are you the president of those American Indians who have been asking you to put a leash on RSS so that the lives of minorities of India can be secured? Biden, make up your mind. Boris, make up your mind. European Parliament, make up your mind. Are you representatives of your people who've been asking you to restrain, leash the RSS terrorism? Or are you the presidents or the representatives of RSS? Because if you're standing by terrorism of RSS, then that makes you a terrorist yourself. And this video is going to be aired in US, in Europe. No matter how much you censor me, you guys tried your best to censor me, but still, my point reaches wherever it has to be reached. And it will reach because truth finds its way. And the truth is that you guys have betrayed your own country's constitution. You have betrayed your own voters to support a terrorist organization that is killing Christians, that is killing Muslims, that is killing Dalits, that is killing Bengal, that is also killing the Pakistani minorities, that is trying to plant sectarian differences amongst the Pakistanis so that Pakistan destabilizes, so that Afghanistan destabilizes, so that military industrial complex can justify reinvasion of Afghanistan. I mean, seriously, where is this going to end? I'm fed up of doing these videos, honestly. But if Dick Cheney is your chief advisor, then we all know what's going to happen eventually. You'll be the last president of United States under the Democratic Party. Because people of US can see your lies. People of UK can see your lies. People of Europe can see your lies. Look what happened to the Elbit factory that was producing arms for Israel. It just got shut down. Not by Palestinians, but by the British themselves. Americans standing for Palestine, Americans standing for Kashmiris, Americans standing for the Indian minorities against RSS will reject you if you try to represent the interests of RSS over the interests of the American people, over the interests of the European people, over the interests of the British people. You are going to be rejected in the next elections, and you are going to lose your so-called holy, sacred base, your solitary base in India, because the civil crisis, you can try to stop it by putting a leash on Chief of Army Staff, General Qamar Bajwa and Imran Khan. The civil crisis is not going to stop because this movement is bigger than the one that happened in the 1800s and the early 1900s under Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah that created Pakistan and that kicked out all the British. They were conquerors in the World War II, but they could not keep their conquest in the subcontinent. How did that happen? Ask Winston Churchill. He will tell you. Because if there's a revolution in this region, you cannot win. If Winston Churchill could not win, Biden, how could you win? That's all I have to tell you. Bye-bye.